It's the kind of thing that sometimes is hard to tell, especially if your client is not forthright with you while you're working with them. So lots of times clients, tend to be people pleasers, God bless them. They want you to love them. They want to do good for you. And I always like to explain to the client, this is for you, not for me. This is not my system. It has to be what works for you. This is exactly why during the intake form, when I set up the consultation in person, the very first thing I say is, please, please, please do not tidy up, clean up, move stuff, do anything before I show up. I need to see your home, your closet, your pantry, your whatever as is. So I know what's not working before we can make it better.
What's up, speaker fam? Welcome to I Speak Organized. I'm your host, Melanie Summers, professional organizer, ADHD organizing specialist, and your go-to gal for all things pro organizing business. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. Do me a favor, if you have not subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and take out your device and tap that subscribe button so that you become a member of the Speaker Fam. And as you get value out of today's podcast episode, please hit that thumbs up and tap the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube so that you're notified whenever we post content every single week. If you are an Apple Podcast user, you can give us that rave 5-star review so that people just like you who are aspiring professional organizers, organizing enthusiasts can benefit from the resources and tools that we provide here at the Speak Organized podcast that would help the channel grow. And we would be so appreciative. Now, if you're looking for a place to get started and you're new to the Speak Organized universe, I want you to head to the description of the video on the podcast show notes where you can join our free Facebook group. It's full of thousands of members of organizing enthusiasts and aspiring pro organizers, people who are looking to grow in the industry, asking and answering questions. It's a super supportive and very engaged group. And that link is going to be down in the description and the podcast show notes. So head down there and join that group today. The main mission here at I Speak Organized is to give you the best quality tools and resources to level up your business and have a truly successful 6 or 7-figure business that doesn't suck away all of your time. So if you're brand new to all of this and it seems very overwhelming, you don't really know where to start, you have come to the right place. I am your go-to gal for all things pro organizing business. If you're afraid that you aren't enough, like you don't have enough experience or you don't really have the goods to bring to the table to charge what other people charge or whatever story you happen to be telling yourself, I am here to help you understand that you can be exceptional with the right tools and training. So in just a few minutes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how I can help you with that. But in the meantime, let's get into this juicy interview. All right, speaker fam, let's dive in and give our amazing guest, return guest, Amy from Amazing Spaces down in Florida, a big welcome. Amy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, and we had so much fun last time. We're going to completely pivot and have a completely different conversation today. And this is one that I get a lot of questions about, the sort of onboarding client flow and how people do that. And it's definitely, there's an art to it. And I'm glad that we're going to be discussing this and kind of getting an insight into how you like to do that. But before we get into that, I want that 60-second update. Has anything changed in your business since our last visit? Anything you want to share?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad you asked. So with 2025, I have been really focusing not just on my in-person clients, because I love them dearly with Amazing Spaces, but I'm also focusing on my speaking engagements, in person, virtual, and even doing some hands-on workshops. So that is really exciting for me and looking forward to doing more of that as we go forward. So thanks for asking. It's been just great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually noticed that because you and I are connected on LinkedIn and I've been seeing that you've really been doing a lot more of those gigs. And I also really love that aspect of sharing and engaging with your community. I think there's really no substitute for it. And I think a lot of people are really hungry for that. So I'm happy to see that you are upping that in your business and moving forward with all that. So moving into our topic about intake and consultation magic, shall we call it? It's not really magic. It's more of just as having a good system in place. And so you're all about the intake form, right? So what's one question on your intake form that reveals the gold about your client?
So for me, when I'm doing my intake form, and that's usually done over the phone, the question that I find really kind of takes the conversation where we need to go is I ask this question: who else in your household will be involved in this process? So what that does is number one, it gives me the information I need for a project, right? Is it just the person on the phone? Is it also a shared closet with a partner or spouse, somebody else? And now that person on the phone is having the aha moment. Shouldn't just be me. And then that really drives that conversation to where we need to get to, right? So that we're really clear on who's involved and what we're doing. So I love that question.
Yeah, it's absolutely paramount too. And also, consent is important. And if you're working in a shared space, everybody's got to kind of be on board. Otherwise, you get yourself into opening up a whole can of worms that maybe you weren't prepared for. So let's walk through your consultation style. I know there's a wide variety of ways that people do this, but I think the biggest question is establishing trust. And, we're tasked with something very unique as professional organizers, where people are bringing us into their homes to rifle through their underwear drawer and various other things that even their closest friends and family members will never see. So how do you actually get people to open up and trust you with their mess?
Oh my goodness. You are 100% right. This is a really intimate thing that we are doing with clients. I would say, even if you're offering virtual organizing, it is a window into their world, and there are things that not everyone wants to expose to everyone. And so you have to handle it gently, but also you want them to feel, as you said, confident and comfortable in inviting you into their home. I use the intake form and phone call as that first step. So when I am on the phone with them, having that intake phone call, using my form to kind of drive the conversation with the questions that are going to help me help them explain their situation to me so that we're fully on board. As part of that, I am sharing with them everything I'm bringing to the table. Here's what I can provide for you. Here's what I've done for others in similar situations. I am insured. I am licensed. I have X amount of Google reviews you can go and look at. I have social media platforms with videos of other similar situations. If it's a closet, say, go and look at my social media, check out 3 other closets just like yours. Maybe it'll give you some great ideas of what we can accomplish together. All of these things build the credibility and the trust. I think that is really important. Everything I discuss during that intake phone call and use my intake form to talk to them about are also reiterated on my client agreement that they get in writing from me during the consultation, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But basically going through with them how I run my business, my philosophy, how I got started, where I came from, my family history. Like I tried to make it a little bit personal so that there's a connection, so they feel like they know me a little bit. And honestly, 99.9% of the time, I finish that intake phone call and we're scheduling that consultation, the in-person. So I know it works. And I think that it's an important part of the process. I think to skip over it does not work.
No, I completely agree. I think, if you're going to be a true consummate professional, you can't just walk in as labor for hire and be like, all right, what are we doing today? Let's roll up our sleeves. Like, you kind of have to have an understanding of what you're walking into so that you're not doing further damage to the situation with the client, and that you also feel really well equipped, especially if you're going to start bringing team members into the situation, because you want to make sure that they're walking in feeling well equipped. And if they're not doing the consultation, you kind of have to have that system in place to be able to give them all the information that you gathered. So that's very well said. One thing that I really appreciate about you and what we talked about last time are the follow-up resources that you provide clients. You're very big into like the cards and the checklists and leaving them with some tangible things to help them have results that last. And that is actually something that I know from talking to hundreds of organizers that they skip that piece of it. And I love that you do that. So I would love to know, what are 2 two or three basic skills, quote unquote, that you believe every client should walk away with?
So some of these are on my maintenance sheet. So as we're working together, I like to teach my clients strategies that will help them maintain their space. And depending on what that space is or what the issues were that got us into this cluttered situation, the strategies may be a little bit different. So if it's a shopping situation with a cluttered closet is a little different than how did the kitchen get to be such a mess? So there are different ones, but I will share this. I love mantras as well as the physical handouts. So as we're working together, whether it's a day, 2 days, a weekend, a couple of sessions, I will throw out certain mantras that I think a particular client may benefit from. So for instance, I may say, don't put it down, put it away is a great mantra. Mm-hmm. And I will remind them of that mantra as we're working together. Don't put it down, put it away. Now we've set up systems and everything has a home and a place it belongs. So you know where it goes. Don't put it down. Don't put it away immediately. Another one that I like is the one in, one out. Is this black blouse replacing your other black blouse that was also long sleeve with a V-neck collar that was a little worn and needed to be replaced? The one in, one out is another really great one. And then I would say one generic one that I love, no matter what the space is or the client, is getting them in the habit of doing a daily 10-minute reset. I call it walking around my house, where you just take 10 minutes and you walk around, and any little bit of clutter or things that was not put in its place and was just let down is the time to just pick it up and put it away so that, you don't end up at the end of the week, a month, even longer with piles and piles. So that daily 10 minutes saves you a lot of time in the end. So those are some of the skills that I like to teach clients.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I think the fact that you have systematized that to a degree and you have cards and handouts and things is such a game-changing factor for the whole experience. It really makes it high touch. And so I think that's great that you kind of give that tangibility to them. Now, in terms of adjustment, you kind of touched on this a little bit, like every client situation is different. If we're talking to somebody who has a bit of a shopping addiction versus somebody who is just an overwhelmed mom in the kitchen and everybody else is making the mess, whatever. Right. How do you adjust how you're teaching clients who are overwhelmed, if they're neurodivergent maybe, or if they're just not naturally organized? What is one or two ways that you may adjust how you teach a client?
So it's a great question. And I will say that some of this even comes out as early as that intake phone call. So even on that phone call, as we're chatting and they're feeling more comfortable with me, they may self-identify in a certain way or say, oh, I'm just like that. Or, oh, I have these issues. Or, oh, my spouse, my partner has these issues. And that's a little like, little bell or a whistle for me. This is ding, 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 ding. This person needs things a little bit differently. Or how can I tweak the process or even the product to meet their needs? So if we know going into the whole game that somebody is ADD or we're doing a teenager's room and they also struggle, so we're going to use clear product, right? Because they need to see what they have or they don't even know they have it. We're not using closed bins. We're not, we're really going to make things easy for them. So that is one way. Another way is being flexible with your sessions. When I first started, and it's actually still in my client agreement, that I prefer to work in 3-hour sessions. Not that I haven't worked more or less, but I think that after 3 hours, many of my clients have decision fatigue and get overwhelmed, and we stop being really productive after 3 hours. So I like to at least book it for 3 hours. Having said that, what you'll come to find out when you work with enough folks who are neurodivergent, 3 hours is a really long time for some people. Mm-hmm. And they may be only able to handle 1 to 2 hours. So I have some clients who I know come 2-hour time mark, they need to tap out. That doesn't mean that I leave per se. Maybe we accomplish what we need to accomplish with purging and sorting and coming up with a plan. And then the rest of the process is just, me solo and they go take a breather in the other room. Mm-hmm. So I think that having that flexibility, even if you're working with a team, that's where you need to communicate and to say, we're handling this client a little bit differently and here's why and here's what they need. Breaks, I have a lot of clients who are 70 plus, and I am really in tune with when they need breaks and when they need water, especially if we are working outside. So I'm really, really careful with that. I've developed a whole system in place where if I have clients who can't stand physically, how I help them while they're seated. So those are some of the things that I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. And people listening and watching may understand too that these are questions that a client may actually have for you in the initial consultation process. So even though we're kind of going beyond the consultation here with some of these questions, these are things that the client is going to want to know in that onboarding process. And so it's a good idea to have an understanding of these systems that Amy's talking about and these procedures and processes and just things to look out for regardless of what your business looks like. All right, fam, imagine this. You are sitting here in 6 months, sitting right where you are now, and you're running your own professional organizing business that is effortlessly scaling to 6 figures. How awesome would that be? But let me guess, you're sitting here today and you've got that voice of imposter syndrome whispering in your ear, who am I to do this? Well, let me tell you, I have been there, and it is not only possible to overcome those doubts, it is essential because your future clients are looking for you, not anybody else, you. So how do you scale a 6-figure business? It's easy. You stick with me. I got you. It is my honor to introduce you to my Empowered Organizer membership community, which is a game changer for turning your passion into, if you want, a full-time 6-figure gig. We've got done-for-you scripts and resources, collaborative monthly coaching calls, and a supportive community to fast-track your success by avoiding all the superfluous fluff and, of course, all the dumb mistakes that I've made over the years so that you don't have to make the same ones. You're welcome. Head to melaniesummerscoaching.com/empowered-organizer to learn more and enroll today. And don't worry, it's kind of like your favorite streaming subscription service. You can cancel anytime and renew when you want. And if that weren't convincing enough, let me give you just a little taste of the treasure trove that you'll find when you head to ispeakorganized.com/courses. First, you'll definitely want to check out my overbooked course, packed with golden nuggets to help you get clients and fill your calendar so that you can work full-time as a professional organizer. Or if you need a little personalized guidance, my one-on-one coaching sessions are perfect for getting your most burning questions answered, helping you move forward confidently. Or how about I save you loads of precious time with my professional organizer forms pack, 9 done-for-you customizable forms, including a client agreement, so that you can start taking paying clients ASAP. And don't miss my ChatGPT prompt guide with over 750 prompts to optimize tasks like social media captions, blog posts, and more, engineered for success every time. Again, visit ispeakorganized.com/courses to explore all these options and more. Are you ready to take the leap? Visit the link. I know you want to. So let's move forward a little bit and talk about the systems aspect of this, because this is another question that people are going to ask, or they're going to, you want to be equipped with helping them move forward. So let's talk systems that last, because ultimately we want our clients to get organized and hopefully stay organized more long-term for their health and benefit. So what's that litmus test for knowing a system will actually stick after you leave?
Right. So, it's the kind of thing that sometimes is hard to tell, especially if your client is not forthright with you while you're working with them. So lots of times clients, tend to be people pleasers, God bless them. They want you to love them. They want to do good for you. And I always like to explain to the client, this is for you, not for me. This is not my system. It has to be what works for you. This is exactly why during the intake form, when I set up the consultation in person, the very first thing I say is, please, please, please do not tidy up, clean up, move stuff, do anything before I show up. I need to see your home, your closet, your pantry, your whatever as is. So I know what's not working before we can make it better. And I think it's really important for a client to be able to walk you through their space and say, this is my struggle. These are our challenges. This isn't work. I've tried this. I've put things in bins. I've put a hook here. This didn't work, so that you can then better suggest different kinds of systems that might work. And not everything is going to be, a home run. And that's why I check in at the 30-day, I check in at the week mark, the 30-day mark, and then the 6 month, because, sometimes things need to be tweaked. So, I do a reach out, how's it going? How's that working? Has it been working better? Are you able to keep things organized with the system in place? What's not working? How can I help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you're not going to get everything perfectly right every single time. Because sometimes we don't know until we try it. That's why I also like when I have different sessions. At the end of a session, I'll say, okay, we got to this point today, or we finished this area today. Let's see how it goes. I'm coming back next Tuesday. When I walk in that Tuesday, the first thing I say is, let's go back to what we finished. Tell me how it's going. Show me before we start with the new space.
Right. Yeah. All of those things are right on. And I think sometimes when people ask this question, they think that you're going to give them like, okay, if you use these bins and this thing, and we do this, it's going to be organized forever. And that's just not the case. And I, as an ADHD organizing consultant, really kind of deal with the fact that the systems are actually really good and they are implemented and executed well, but then the client's just over it and they want to try something new. So it's a more of a sense of novelty.
I will say one more thing. Usually things are away for a reason and in a place for a reason. So if I walk into somebody's house and the shoes are all right there, I'm not going to try to set up a system where the shoes are in the other space. Like that is telling me, they're there for a reason, right? So when you do that, take note of where things are. If something's not working, it's not working, but usually things are set up for a reason and I want to understand. And I'll say, okay, so this is here. Why is this here? Oh, because we enter the house this way. Oh, you don't enter the house through the garage? No, we've never entered the house through the garage.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think about that in my own house with trying to get my kids out the door. Normally you would think like when you do laundry, you have a sock drawer. Most people have a sock drawer in their bedroom, in a dresser, whatever, and you put the socks in the bedroom. But the issue for us is always trying to get the kids from upstairs to downstairs wearing their socks to then get out the door. And 95% of the time that is not the case. So what did we do? Exactly what you just pointed out. You think to yourselves, this is the issue, that we need the thing here, not up there. So we don't put the socks away upstairs in the dresser drawer anymore. We put them in a basket next to the shoes before we leave the house, because inevitably my child may have put socks on upstairs. Heaven knows where they went between then and now, but their socks here is where to go, right? So
it's great. It's
thinking.
That's why we ask people, where do you get dressed?
Right.
I have lots of clients who don't get dressed in their bedroom. They'll get dressed in a closet or in the bathroom, and that pretty much tells me where things need to be, right? Why make it harder?
Exactly. Think outside the box. So let's talk about in terms of tools and methods. Is there something right now, like in the moment, that a tool or a method that you're obsessed with at the moment with working with your clients? You're kind of turning to this as maybe a new thing. What are you utilizing these days?
I got a really new thing, new this week.
Oh, I love it.
So I always use I'll get one. Hold on. I always use a paper homework list with my clients. So as we're working together, if there are things that they are going to do outside of their time with me in between sessions or after I leave, drop off the donations, or they're going to try on that pile of clothing that they're not sure if it fits or not, right? So we put it on this list. I then take a picture of this list and I am checking in with them after I leave a couple of days later. How's that homework list gone? What have you accomplished? Well, now I have downloaded the to-do list app. Nice. And I am beta testing using with some of my clients some of my clients like the paper, to be honest with you. They like the piece of paper, but some of my clients, this becomes just more clutter. Or just in the pile of all the papers. So I'm trying out this to-do list app, which is a free version where you create literally a to-do list and then, you can check it off as you go and you can add to it. And it's on the phone and it's shareable and all of those things. So I love that. And for my clients, this is also a way for them to save money. So the way I explain it is the more things we put on here and you're able to do, not when you're spending time with me, is the less money you're spending for me.
Right.
You can accomplish none of these things. And I show up next Tuesday and then we're doing these together. And now you're paying me to help you do these things. Right. Totally fine. No shame. But, this is just also another selling point that I mentioned during the intake form. that, this is part of my process. This is how I work. This is what you can expect when working with me. I also ask them quite boldly, have you ever worked with a professional organizer before? Because that also gives me a lot of insight into the client. And then I ask, if so, then how did it go? Because I want to know their experience, right? So that's something else that's on my intake form.
Yeah, I'm glad that you showed us that client homework template, because that's a perfect example of what I was referring to earlier with all of your amazing resources that you have for clients. Yes. It's really simple. This is not like crazy, outlandish, complicated stuff. It's a checklist with a title at the top. Like, right. But those are the things that I love that you implement in your business, because it's minimum effort for maximum impact. And it has such a high touch feel to it, because it is a designed printable thing that you can give to your client to be like, here's the stuff. It's very organizer. So I love that you do that. And I think people, don't sleep on this type of stuff. So now let's talk a little bit about the marketing aspect, because obviously we want to get people to the intake stage, right?
Yes.
So it's very important to have people to intake. For organizers who are listening and watching, what is one thing that helped you shift from side hustle to actual sustainable business and getting these people coming to you?
So for me, what I did is I used my family and friends as my guinea pigs. And in exchange for me organizing a space for them, trying out my systems, trying out my forms, trying out my intake, trying out my payment method, asking them to do, in response, all I asked for them was to do Google review for me, give me before and after photos to build my website, to start my business. And then also that feedback on the forms and the systems helped me tweak everything before I officially rolled out as a business, not a hobby. So that was vital to me. And I chose specific friends and family guinea pigs that were all different ages, different neighborhoods, and different spaces. It gave me a lot of insight to my skills, my ability, my processes. And after that, I had work to do. There was work to do before I, officially launched, but that was just vital and really, really helpful. So I would say that would be the thing I would suggest, if you're really looking to bringing your hobby into more of a business.
Yeah, you got to practice. It's like a restaurant having a soft open.
Correct. The same thing. That's why they do it.
Exactly. And I love that you pointed out that there will be things to work on. And I think some people get so discouraged walking into the situation and things don't work quite the way that you thought they would. You hit those snags. I mean, to be quite honest, that stuff kind of never goes away. Like we still experience that in moments of growth, and we have those oopsies, and then we have to add things to our contract, or, something happens, and it just comes with experience. But to your point, testing those processes out before you actually do your official launch, having a soft launch is so important, because you work those kinks out ahead of time.
Correct. And it also once you do launch, now you have real photos to use. You have good forms. Now you really do come off much more professional. And that's what you want, right?
Absolutely. So in addition to that, what do you feel is an underrated way to attract and retain clients that most organizers are overlooking?
So many things. I think that, look, there's enough business for everyone. I don't view any organizers as competition. I think that there's enough business for all of us. And I think that everybody is different. And there are organizers who have large teams, and there's organizers who are solo, all different types and niches and approaches. For me, and this is just where I put my time. This is how I use my time. Believe it or not, I think that Facebook groups are underutilized. And this is what I mean. Join every Facebook group that you can in your city, town, neighborhood. If you're in Philly, Moms of Philly, Parents of Detroit, whatever the groups are, join the groups. And that's where people will put, hi, does anybody know a handyman? or, hi, I need this, that, or the other. Well, that's where I'm the first to comment as my business saying I refer my Amazing Spaces clients to Joe. He's a great handyman. Now I've tagged my business in that comment. I've given that person a local resource, right? For, just here you go. Just giving. I give in these groups. I'm not selling myself. I'm not posting my flyer. I'm not posting my business card. All I'm doing is answering their questions. And then I will say I have clients also in all kinds of Facebook groups for their gated communities, their book clubs, and they all ask each other for resources and they refer me when somebody needs a professional organizer. Mm-hmm. So I have found, as far as marketing goes, I've gotten just as many clients from that as anything else. I will say LinkedIn is also underutilized.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
I've gotten a lot of business, especially speaking stuff from LinkedIn. Absolutely, you need to have, as a professional organizer, a good LinkedIn presence. Mm-hmm. I think it's important. So I would say those two things. I mean, I'm not running ads on social media. I'm not. I'm very active on my social media. My social media is more like, I would say it's like 80-20. It's like 80% giving inspiration and ideas and 20%, asking people if they need a professional organizer, think of me. But it's just giving. Because when it comes time, when they're contacting you and you're starting an intake form, they've already decided they need help. Mm-hmm. So you have to play the long game, and with somebody who doesn't even realize what a professional organizer is, what they can do for them. Do they need it? Are they really suffering from clutter, and how is it affecting their mental and physical health? They don't even know. So You have to educate. So that's what I would say. I mean, the Facebook groups, I know it sounds crazy and it's free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knocked it out of the park. Those are two things that I teach inside of my membership program, pretty much to the T, exactly the way that you explain them. And LinkedIn is another one that we as a company slept on for a long time. And I just hired a social media manager a few months ago, and his number one task was to increase our LinkedIn engagement, because that was something that we overlooked for so long. And it is a very underutilized platform. I mean, you are maybe one of I can count on two hands, the organizers that I'm friends with that have active LinkedIn presences. And there's a lot of untapped resource there. Same thing with the Facebook groups, free. And not posting, like you said, not posting your flyer. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants the buy my stuff posts. They want
you'll be knocked out of the group. They'll kick you out.
Exactly. You have to pay attention to the policies there. And that happens in my Facebook group all the time. There is a no promotion except on Saturdays policy, and there's a very specific thread. And the reason for that being is because people don't want to see that. Nobody cares, right. They want the answer to their question. So anyway, you and I could obviously talk about this all day and night, but you're very smart in terms of how you've handled that. So thank you for answering that question for us. I have a few last rapid fire questions to wrap up that are kind of fun and just kind of an insight into how you like to operate. So are you ready?
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Biggest organizing myth you wish would go away?
Less is more.
Oh, tell us.
I don't like less is more. I don't like my clients to think that I'm just there to get rid of their stuff. And sometimes stuff has meaning, and it's about finding a place for the stuff that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I don't like this whole less is more and just blanket statement. I mean, clearly some people need less, but I don't like the less is more.
Yeah, there is definitely more to it than that sort of beige minimalist type of thing.
It does not work for everyone, right?
No, right sizing all day and all night for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, weirdest or most memorable item you've ever had to organize?
Flight logs. I helped a pilot organize his home office, and I had never seen actual leather-bound flight logs. And fun fact, if you are a pilot, you must by law keep those flight logs for X amount of years after the flight. And they were a very important and precious thing. And I had to create a system for them. Who knew?
interesting. Do you know if that process has been digitized late, like for pilots now, or is it you literally
No.
have the
Literally handwritten? And I was shocked.
Wow.
I was shocked. I mean, I'm sure somewhere there's some digital version of what flights have occurred and what he flew and what time it landed or whatever was in the log. But actual, like 1972, we're opening up a flight log.
That's amazing. I bet stuff like that. I mean, I love coming across things like that and going through those types of just information, like the anthropological aspect of like, you know, looking back in time, the time capsule stuff is super cool. Super cool.
I mean, yeah. So, you know, you do all the things. You're like, how precious is this?
Right.
Do you have a safe? Does it need to be in the safe? Does it need to be temperature controlled? You know, all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. Leather-bound flight log. Who knew? That is actually very memorable and interesting. Last question. If a brand new organizer is listening today, what is one thing you tell them before they take their first client?
One thing?
Be like a one.
Can it be a run-on sentence?
Yes, with like part A, B, C, whatever you need to say.
Beautiful. Here we go. Do your homework, take the courses, get yourself insured, and protect your business.
I love that. Very succinctly said. I mean, there are so many stories there about that.
So many things. And I am amazed every day I come across people who say, oh, I'm a professional organizer. I say, oh my God, that's great. Wonderful.
No. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. You got to do your homework. You got the insurance is paramount. I actually ran across somebody who for a couple of years marketed themselves as a professional organizing business coach. And one of the things that they were famous for saying was you don't need insurance, which I thought was insane. I mean, I have
one thing, it could do you in.
Yep.
And I'll go so far as to say I'm also bonded for a reason.
Yeah,
so I'm licensed, bonded, and insured. And I know a lot of organizers don't want to pay that. It's $150 a year, people. Just saying.
Yeah.
To be, you know, really do your homework and protect yourself because you are in people's homes. You know, you do have access to their precious, expensive to them stuff. And you got to really be careful, you know?
You do. Yeah. But as long as
it's free. Yeah. I just want to say, as far as taking the courses, you can find plenty of free courses, low cost. There's many places to get training. Get some training, like some real training. I mean, I've always had a passion for organizing. I used to organize my shoes as a kid. I organized my mother's grocery cart. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. All those things. Very true. I love this. I love having you on. I feel like you should just come and be a regular guest because you always share such heartfelt, valuable, thoughtful information, no gatekeeping. And that's what we're all about here at I Speak Organized. But Amy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am. All right, fam. As always, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming and spending a little bit of time with us today on the Speak Organized podcast. And thank you to our podcast guest. I love having Amy on the show. She always provides such value to us. And I always learn something new. And I'm so inspired by her and just love her to pieces. So thanks again, Amy, for coming on the show. Make sure that you connect with her. All her information is going to be down in the description of the podcast show notes and the YouTube video. Make sure that if you want to book that one-on-one coaching call with me, you head to the link down there. You can also check out all of the courses that we have available at ispeakorganized.com/courses. All our resources are there. The forms pack, all the information about our latest membership program is there for you as well. If you have questions, comment them down below. DM me on Instagram, email me, whatever it is that you need. We're here for you as a resource and we would love to help you out. Beyond that, I hope you guys have a fabulous day and I will see you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so we see you around. Hope you have a good one.